The Canadian Agri-Food Policy Institute is driving bold policy solutions for a resilient Canadian agri-food system and building a stronger future for Canadian agriculture. Visit capi-icpa.com to discover how.
I'm Kelvin Hepner for Real Agriculture. We are at the Hemp Canada Convention in downtown Winnipeg at the scenic Met Theatre, and pleased to be joined now by Clarence Shwaluk, Chair of the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance, and Ted Haney, President of the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance. And Clarence, when it comes to hemp policy, it's something that's always evolving. There's always work to be done in terms of addressing some of the regulations around this crop and the opportunities surrounding it. One aspect that we are maybe seeing some developments on is the feed side of things. Where are we at in terms of having hemp meal approved for livestock feed in Canada?
Well, I'm happy to say that the committee I've been working with for the past 6 years, as a matter of fact, has submitted the application for hemp seed meal for feeding for livestock to CFIA. That happened in August. So that's after 6 years of work, and very proud to see that off our desks and onto theirs.
And just like all other crops, there's a feed component, and this is going to add that market value for hemp down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we've got a large segment of our industry is focused on food production, but if there happens to be some crop that does not make food quality, there's no real market for it. And this feed registration will eliminate a tremendous amount of risk for our growers and give a big secondary market that they can market to. So I think it's a great thing for our industry once it does get approved.
Okay. Ted, from your perspective, the U.S. has also moved ahead on this a little bit, at least on the laying hen side of things, approving hemp meal in those rations. We've more recently, though, seen some provision from Senator McConnell in that funding bill earlier this month that has quite a bit of discussion happening around the future of the hemp industry in the U.S. How do you see that provision impacting our industry north of the border?
Sure. First off, the feed approval for hemp seed meal to laying hens has turned into a not much. FDA got themselves involved and set very, very low limits on CBD, naturally occurring CBD in the feed products, so that something around half the feed doesn't even qualify, and it introduced the potential of risk of rejection of lots. So it's just not really moving ahead. I think they have to kind of reset and look at how they want to strategically enter the feed market. But the Senator McConnell revisions are very good from a Canadian perspective, and in many ways will see the U.S. catch up to where Canada is right now. They have taken steps to allow the seed and the straw market to really reduce regulation, while separately and independently putting additional regulations on the cannabinoid extraction market and the selling of products containing concentrated and isolated cannabinoids to consumers, increasing safety and really allowing the main hemp industry to act like it is an agriculture crop.
So does that kind of separate the two different streams of hemp products between the CBD products, the cannabinoids, as you mentioned, and on the other side, the food feed fiber stream, treating that more like an agriculture crop, putting that under USDA, that type of thing?
Absolutely. It's all under USDA with FDA hanging out of the side, kind of saying, this is ordinarily our job. But the original Farm Bill put it all under USDA. So having it being separated, and feedback I've had from players in the U.S. is that there's a lot yet to define and to confirm on the CBD, on the cannabinoid side of this proposed regulation. There are those that believe it's an end to their sector. There's others that believe it's just a separation, and that they'll be able to continue much as they've always continued, but in a different regulatory structure than the rest of the hemp industry. Again, very good.
If we compare the industries and the regulations on both sides of the border, Clarence, is the U.S. catching up and potentially even surpassing Canada here with some of these new developments?
I don't know if I can answer it in those exact terms, but I think it does keep things on an equal footing. We in the feed, fiber, food side of things, we're encouraged by what's happening in the U.S. That's a large part of our food business, for example, and Canada was or is one of the leaders in food for hemp. I think this just keeps that export market on more of an equal plane for where we are, and it makes it available to us as food processors who want to use that as our market.
Okay. Here in Canada, we did see this summer, we saw Health Canada consult on natural health products and a pathway for that. Would that kind of accomplish the same thing as what the U.S. is doing here in terms of separating streams? I'm not sure. Ted, would you like to?
Yeah, they did two things. One is they finished their consultation on revisions to the Cannabis Act, Industrial Hemp Regulation, and the Cannabis Exemption to the Food and Drug Act. That was put into place in the spring, and that really was about halfway toward where we need to be. There was a reduction in regulatory oversight. There was some less permitting requirements, and so that was positive. We still need to go another step like that till we become a regular agriculturally regulated sector. The health, cannabis in health and non-prescription drug consultation, we'll know what they have decided to do in about probably 5 or 6 months from now. And we were very clear from the hemp industry, we want the cannabinoid extraction business to stay behind the cannabis regulatory fence. That's good for us. But Health Canada needs to develop regulatory pathways to allow low THC, safe health products, supplements, and non-prescription drug products back out from behind that fence and into general retail, where consumers can buy what they want to buy that's safe from the people they want to buy them from and where they want to buy them from. So that will be helpful and will build demand. Probably it wouldn't be great news for the 3,000 cannabis stores across Canada, because vitamin suppliers, mineral suppliers, supplement suppliers, and all of the whole food stores and pharmacies and supermarkets would all then be able to sell these low THC products. So, but still, good for consumers and overall good for the production side of the industry.
Okay. Right now we have a government, Clarence, Prime Minister and federal government talking a lot about red tape reduction and economic growth. How do you see hemp fitting into that picture from a federal perspective?
I think it could fit into both pictures. Right now we do have some heavy regulatory pressures on us in terms of licensing for all growers and processors. We see this as an agricultural crop. We've talked about food and fiber and feed, and our ultimate goal is to have us regulated under Agri-Food Canada, because I think that's really where a crop like that belongs. It would be awesome to get out from under some of the regulatory burdens that we face and be able to freely market it as an agricultural crop.
Mm-hmm. Ted, do you see any signs that the government is interested in red tape reduction on the hemp side of things, or are there places there where Health Canada is showing willingness to move?
The amendments they made 6 months ago were really in line with our policy priorities. So a lot of our policy asks were actually delivered on in that. But like I said, we're halfway there. There's a number of things that Health Canada continues to do that actually is inconsistent with the 1961 Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs, which is what is the basis and justification for all this cannabis regulation, and they're inconsistent with it. We need to be freed to plant hemp and to hold and to sell seed capable of germination, so viable hemp seed. Right now that's locked up. There's no justification for that. Should be able to sell without permitting domestically, nationally. And a small thing, but farmers should be able to sell flower material to the natural health, supplement, non-prescription drug market directly, as long as those companies are not allowed to take that product through a extraction process. So those two are really the biggest remaining items. Free, viable hemp seed, bring to an end the licensing around that, and again allow more flexibility on the sale from farmers to end users of hemp flowers that are never going to be extracted. So that's the next step. The fact that they went as far as they did the first time shows that there is interest in it. Now with the motivation of red tape reduction, we're hopeful. The last time it took 5 years. This one, I think we might be able to do quicker, maybe 2 or 3 years.
Okay. Are those conversations happening with bureaucrats that need to happen?
5 o'clock tonight, we're going to be having a conversation of our board members and representatives of Health Canada. The dialogue has been ongoing, but it's ramping up for sure.
All right. Clarence, from your perspective on the grower side of things, we've heard a little bit today at the conference about increased yields, hybrid technology coming to hemp as well. Can you talk a bit about the production side of things and how this looks from of course, acreage increase that you're looking to drive ultimately when it comes to the hemp industry in Canada?
Yeah, we're looking for efficiencies across the entire value chain, and some of the technologies that were presented earlier today about hybrids and looking at what sort of yield potential is there. Now, the studies are very early, but very promising. And if you look back at other crops on, say, for example, canola, what happened with hybrids and how that increased production over the years, we would like to be at that point. Where we can see continual improvements from year to year. That would put us, from a food part of the industry in a much better competitive plane with other plant-based proteins, and have us right there in a cost plane with peas or soybeans or others that are commonly used in regular CPG diets.
Okay. As a protein source in livestock feed kind of thing as well?
It could be livestock feed, foods, any place where you're going to be using hemp or hemp seed meal for consumption. Mm-hmm. So I think there's tremendous opportunity, and unlocking some of that yield potential will really drive the industry.
All right.
Yeah, processed food ingredients, baking, frying, are really the next major expansion opportunity once we have the increased efficiencies through new genetics and higher production. That will drive our industry forward, but the traditional markets will continue to support the industry and will continue to grow. But those value-added protein isolates, those value-added processed hemp seed oils, that can go right into this, the commercial bakeries. That is a massive market, and our products solve problems. Some of the existing plant proteins don't have a particularly well-balanced amino acid or fatty acid makeup, but even a 20% hemp content in some of these foods dramatically increases the digestibility, and that's fantastic even for the other protein suppliers because it's removing their problems too.
Mm-hmm. Final question then, Clarence. Ted talked about the research and our understanding of the profiles when it comes to nutrition. That takes research and investment in research, and a year ago at this meeting is when approval was announced. There was an announcement about the launch of a checkoff organization when it comes to hemp research in Canada. Where is the establishment of that organization and its work at right now?
It's still going through its final processes. There is a board that's been developed now called Hemp Canada Chambre, or HCC. And they are in the final process of working with the Farm Products Council of Canada to establish their rules, their bylaws on being able to be set up to manage the funds. That board will give direction to where the funds will be invested, and in collaboration with CHTA, we'll work together to apply the funds as the farmers see fit. So it'll unlock a lot of potential for investment into our industry and attract more research. Once you get dollars flowing in, you can leverage that for other funding, and we see some great potential for that.
Okay. Is that paid by the producer, by the processor? What's the funding mechanism?
Yeah, the general mechanism is it'll be collected by the processors on behalf of the producers and sent to Hemp Canada Chambre, and then from there, that board will make the decision on where it's spent for promotions, marketing, or research.
All right. Well, thank you both, gentlemen. There's certainly a lot of different angles to talk about when it comes to the hemp industry and opportunities around hemp in Canada and North America in general. So thank you, Ted. Thank you, Clarence.
Thank you.
Very welcome.